Hey, hello Bio 2, this is Mr. B. We're starting chapter 25 today, and this is entitled Plant Responses and Adaptations. So this is our final chapter about plants. We're going to learn how they respond to different things and how they adapt to different things. So our first section here is going to be broken up into three parts because this is a long section, and this is entitled Hormones and Plant Growth. And so to get us started, we're going to have to look at some patterns of plant growth, since that is in fact our title of our section. So biologists have discovered that plant cells will send signals to one another that indicate when to divide and when not to divide, and when to develop into a new kind of cell. So people kind of had this preconceived notion that plants are pretty simple and they're basic, but they're not. They actually can communicate with their cells do communicate with one another inside of their own body, if you will, and they can tell each other when to divide and when not to divide, and when to develop into a new kind of cell. And one difference between growth in plants and animals is that most animals stop growing once they reach adulthood. In contrast, plants will continue to grow new needles, add new wood, and produce cones or new flowers, so that never really stops in plants. That's a big difference there. And the secrets, the reason why that plants can grow like this, are found in meristems, which are regions of tissue that can produce cells that later develop into specialized tissues. So that's our meristematic tissue that we talked about. That's undifferentiated, doesn't have a specific job, and that kind of is significant only to plants because it kind of helps them grow in any way they really need to. So that is kind of another big pattern of plant growth. Another one is the fact that plants can grow in response to environmental factors such as light, moisture, temperature, and gravity, and then the specific chemicals. There are specific chemicals that will direct, control, and regulate our plant growth in response to all those different things that we just talked about. And these chemicals are known as plant hormones. So what are plant hormones? A hormone is simply a substance that is produced in one part of an organism and it affects another part of the same individual. So it would be like in humans, we have what's called maybe our thyroid gland, if you've heard about that. It's kind of up in our neck. A lot of hormones, different things are produced in that area, and they affect different parts of our body, all over the place. And the plant is kind of the same way. So plant hormones are chemical substances that control a plant's patterns of growth and development and its responses to environmental conditions. So these hormones, and again, just being specific to plants, they control their patterns of growth and development and their response to environmental conditions. So they're extremely important to the survival of a plant. So we can see here the portion of an organism affected by a particular hormone is known as its target cell or target tissue. So if we look in our picture over here on the right, we have our target cells over on the far right portion over here in this undeveloped flower, and the hormones are being produced all the way over here on the left in this developing flower. So we have our hormone producing cells, the movement of our hormone, and the target cell, which is the area that it's targeted for, that the hormone will affect. And to respond to a hormone, the target cell must contain a receptor to which the hormone binds. So on the surface of those cells, there'll be different receptors that will only take in that certain hormone. And if the receptor is present, the hormone can influence the target cell in not just one way, but in multiple ways. One being it will change its metabolism, which again, its ability to break down nutrients and things like that. It will affect its growth rate, could tell it to slow down, could tell it to speed up, could tell it to just stay right where it is. And it can activate the transcription of certain genes. So if you remember back in bio, transcription is just the production of new DNA, and it can also activate the transcription of certain genes, which is probably be one of the more advanced kind of effects that a hormone can have on a target cell. And cells that do not contain the receptors are generally unaffected by hormones. So if we don't have those specific receptors, those specific areas for them to bind, nothing will happen. And different kinds of cells may have different receptors for the same hormone. So maybe different kinds of cells may have different receptors for the same hormone. So maybe the same hormone can affect our cells in many different ways. Are the plant cells, not our cells. So as a result, a single hormone may affect two different tissues in different ways. So it might tell the root to do one thing, it might tell the stem to do another, and a flower to do something else. And then, for example, okay, I guess I just did this, a particular hormone may stimulate growth in stem tissues but inhibit growth in root tissues. So these hormones are very important to how plants survive, and they can do a lot of different things. So that's it for this video. Let me know if you have any questions.